Good gaming champions. Welcome back to another podcast here on Champions of Tabletop. I got to tell you guys, I've got my Lions stuff on. I know not everybody's going to watch it this week, but I'm playing hurt. I'm sick, but I had to come in. I had to wear the Lions gear. We're going to San Francisco, and just like Motor City Dan Campbell would want, I'm playing hurt, playing for the rest of the guys on the team. So we're here tonight because we have a huge episode. We've got a big one because we have a massive guest today with us. You may see him on the other side of this screen right now. It is the one, the only, Donald Shults, developer of Freelancers, the 2023 Golden Meeple Award winner. What you don't see is he now drives a Lamborghini from a Honda, all thanks to that Golden Meeple Award. Donald, welcome to the show, everybody.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank you for having me on. I'd like to thank my haters.
And gotta say something to the haters, yes.
Yeah, they keep me going. They keep me living, you know. And I'm here. I'm here, and I'm ready to do this thing.
All right.
Ready to talk some trash.
That's right. Let's go. We brought you on.
That's why we did.
Well, Donald, it's a pleasure to have you. We're looking forward to it today. So with that, before we get started, we're going to go ahead and thank our sponsors this week, our partners. Of course, we got Voss Media Studios, where we do every podcast.
All right.
Here
Thank you.
Glad I could say.
Look
at
that. Clap for me. Yeah, thank you.
He was born in Michigan.
Buddy.
Did you know that?
Yeah, what's up? We'll find out real soon, right?
Yeah,
from what I
he's
understand.
podunk his whole life.
Podunk.
Yeah, every stop has been podunk.
That's right.
Is it a rich dunk too?
There's a hodunk.
When he comes to Galesburg, it'll bring him back to his childhood from his podunk days, because this is a podunk little town.
Yeah. It's something.
Language, I have no clue. Yay.
So with that, let's go ahead and get to know Donald. So, of course, many of you may have really learned a lot about Donald over the last year as he released one of the best games of 2023 with Freelancers that won.
The best.
The best.
I
Including to
apologize.
us, the best game of
Just like in the
2023.
game, he's mad-libbing me.
Yes.
I'm going to put the instead of a. So, Donald, thank you so much for joining us. So, Donald, how has this past year been? Because this is, your first true developed game that you've had your hands all over, your name's on the box. What's this last year been like for you?
It's been great, man. There's been models, blow, all the fun stuff. And,
That's not true.
That comes with
Don't
everything
listen to
that,
him. He's wrong.
everything that comes with success, it's come my way. It's been great.
No board game developers like models and bloggers and blow. No, it's not true. It doesn't.
Well, I think we just booked
No,
with
it's-
Donald at
it's-
Gen Con.
Yeah, we did. We did book some. We'll be meeting.
Indy's going to be great.
Yeah, I don't.
But no,
which hotel
it's
you
been
in?
cool.
Let's go.
Yeah.
It's been cool. You work on a thing for a couple years until you hate it, and then you put it out into the world, and people. It's nice that people don't hate it as much as you do. Like you can't really know how to feel about it anymore by the time you're done working on something for that long, and so it's been
Well, and
cool.
how much-
seeing
you said this
actual
one you did a
positive
lot-
feedback.
You said in this one you did a lot of work on the Freelancers. What was your percentage of work on Forgotten Waters compared to Freelancers? Because that was the previous one.
So sure, I edited and did all the sound design and directed all the audio for Forgotten Waters, and I wrote big chunk of the DLC we did for Forgotten Waters, and I was a developer on that DLC. But that was the extent of my involvement on. I was hired after Forgotten Waters was successful.
Gotcha.
So this is a follow-up question that kind of has nothing to do with it. What instruments do you play? I see a guitar right there. And do you like guitar? Do you have a bass right there? I see 4 strings.
Yeah. I have a bass and I have a bunch of instruments. I'm not particularly good at any of them. I wouldn't really claim any of them. I grew up listening to punk music and stuff, so I don't have a lot of talent. I like to play the bass. That's my favorite one to play.
Hey, okay.
Well, what we learned, because we'll let the audience know that Donald and I were able to, before we filmed tonight, do a tabletop tale. So we really got a chance to go deep diving into Donald's questionable history. And some seedy parts too, and there was a part with feet. So we'll,
oh wow,
if you want to learn more about that, watch the
Tabletop Tales.
Tabletop Tales.
I've actually got a question that probably wasn't asked during Tabletop Tales.
About the feet?
We got to follow up on music real quick. Save your question.
Okay, go ahead.
Because Donald, you're sitting here saying, well, somewhere out there we've discovered there's a MySpace channel with a band that you had. So why don't you just go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off?
I mean, I don't know if we had a MySpace. I haven't found it, but yeah, I was in a band in high school. We were called Too Many Humans. We were very bad. I was the lead singer, and a lot of songs about hating your stepdad and about angst. It was good times.
Gotcha.
Good times.
Amazing.
It justifies the blow there, right?
Yeah.
So
Who was on your top
Exactly.
5 if you're on MySpace?
Top
I'm
5
joking.
on MySpace.
Oh,
you
my
really?
top 5
You're
on
too
MySpace.
young
No,
to be
I know about
MySpace.
I have songs on MySpace too.
Do you really?
Yes, I do.
Oh
look
my
at that.
gosh.
Brandon pulled up the
Brandon is
Wikipedia.
pulling up
Listen,
Wikipedia MySpace.
Here's the thing.
Too many
In
humans.
order to dodge that question, I'm going to
Wow.
say, I believe in my heart, honestly, this is a sincere, non-ironic thing. I kind of think MySpace was sort of the best one.
I'm
Like, I
going to be
think-
honest. I think so too. I like going to people's pages and listening to their music that they had
Right.
playing in the background.
Yeah,
and
they got
their
like a
top
little
5
dancing
friends
baby
and-
for a cursor, and the background's like
I
animated
agree.
GIF of stars, and
Like,
I get to
people learn
see their
coding.
favorite.
For MySpace. People
Yeah.
will live
Yeah.
with code
And
to
I've
make
read
everything
articles
Because
go.
it's so
like,
the
with
new
new
ones are
generation.
so. The new ones are so like curated and impersonal, but MySpace,
Yes.
you really felt like you're getting to know your friends' like weird taste. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like you get that anymore. Now you get to know like what their like weird uncle thinks about stuff, but you don't get that like pure injection of like, oh, whoa,
You get
you
their weird
really like this like emo band from 2007, huh? Or whatever,
I feel like social media has gone through like a trend of like at first it was like young people using it as a way to like find cute, attractive singles that they could hang out with, winky faces. Then it turned into
Yeah, I wasn't
what
cool enough for that part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally
wasn't
missed
in
that too.
Well, the
that-
school
you
I went
must have
to,
been-
we were
oh.
one of the first 13 schools in America that got the Facebook when it first came out,
Mm.
and you had to
You
have
a
the school
Winklevoss
director-
twin?
Yeah, baby. So I got that crypto going
Wow.
too. So, but yeah, so it was a great tool for that. Then it became grandma just sharing her recipes.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's where
And-
all the old people hang out, like me, to where
Yeah.
they would just see pictures of families and
Yeah.
share really funny memes. And
But we're gonna post this so everybody can see it. Brandon's gonna put this through the power of editing. We have your Wikipedia page for your band, Too Many Humans Up. So did you know
There's
you
a
have
different, for the record, there's a different band called Too Many Humans.
Is there?
Oh,
from
okay, good.
Australia, I think.
is that one
okay.
from Australia?
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it
If
out.
it isn't,
We'll
we
figure it
I
out
got
think
it.
they
later.
were, their logo was T, M, and H, and the letter T was like going in between the M and the H. It was really cool.
Okay.
I remember finding them after the fact and thinking like, man, we're in good company.
That's right. We're way better than those guys, is what you were thinking. I know, it's okay. So to get back to board gaming, kind of so we ran off the rails here a little bit. One of my things that I have, and I've talked to a lot of the people that come in here and we discuss, one of my favorite games of all time when it comes to zombie games, and I told you a little bit before the show, is Dead of Winter. It was the Crossroads games that really made me go, what is it? How? Oh, that's really cool how you draw a card and it changes the replayability and what I've got to decide what I'm going to do based on what I do during my turn. And you read this thing and it brings you more into the game and the moment of what you're doing. And then added on with that awesome ability to not know if you're really with me or against me. The betrayal mechanic made that one of my favorite games, coming from Plaid Hat Games. I was waiting and waiting and waiting for something else to come out, and Forgotten Waters slipped right under the radar. It got very popular here after the fact, after I've showed a lot of people like, look at this, it's really fun. Held some events and done some things. And then even that with freelancers now with that, I mean, is this, without getting too much into the backdoor things, Plaid Hats had it, and then you guys had kind of like hands off on it. Like you were like, you got it kind of taken away from you of some sort.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but
Oh,
basically
gotcha.
the long and the short of it is we were Plaid Hat this was before my time, was purchased by a larger game company, and that game company was purchased by an even bigger game company. And at some point in that process, they then dissolved Plaid Hat Games and kept the intellectual property, which is, what I would do too if I was a capitalist. But
if you weren't spending all your money on blows and hookers, we probably could have your own studio.
Yeah. You sound like an options trader in Chicago right there.
Yeah,
but then, so then they turned around. So then, Colby bought the company back with his own money. We're independent once more. And so we do not, we no longer have Dead of Winter under our umbrella or Mice and Mystics.
That was another one too. Yeah, really good one as well. Yeah,
those old sort of evergreen titles, and so we're hungry again. You know what I mean? We can't just rest on our laurels. We gotta, like I said before, we gotta get those evergreens. We gotta try to find them where they are.
Well, the one thing I do like about the direction of Plaid Hat Games, and why you are also one of my favorite publishers of last year and the last few years, is the pushing of how I was really against apps in my board gaming. Like I'm a video gamer, heavy video gamer, but I like to separate the two. If I want to play apps, I'll play on my phone. I don't want to, I'm very separate in the middle. You guys and a few other people have broken me from that mentality. And now one of my favorite games requires an app. So it is you are definitely pushing that envelope on what you're able to do with an app and still include the experience even more with everybody at the table. So definitely hats off to that and what you and your team is doing there at Plaid Hat Games and the owner. I'm sorry you mentioned his name. Obviously,
Colby.
Colby is pushing that envelope forward, which is great, and I can't wait to see what you guys come out with next. Without giving too much information, and probably you can't. Are we going to stay with this Crossroad Games mentality?
Oh, that's interesting. I could see a third part of a trilogy of Crossroads games
Confirmed
in the near future.
Put it on blood.
But then, when you're talking about the most overhyped game of 2025,
it's you.
That might be a very different and yet familiar sort of experience.
Nice.
Fair.
Well, that was actually something Donald and I talked a bit about in the Tabletop Tales was, the place of an app in a game. And I think, Donald, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to. I felt like we kind of agreed in that an app should be there to take the jobs away that take you away from your friends. So like in Freelancers, one of the beauties of the app is it removes a lot of the work a DM would do that would get you in a book looking away from people, where with the app you can just hit play and to Donald, your point, you're pushing numbers, you don't even have to enter a lot of the numbers to go to the proper page or to the proper event in the story. And to me, that's the perfect implementation of an app. Whereas if we're playing Arc Nova and all of a sudden there's an app to Arc Nova, well, Arc Nova is a game I want to touch the pieces, I want to move them, but I want to talk to people, I want to engage with them. There's no place for an app in that kind of game.
I couldn't see any. Well, in most Euros, I don't think there's, and those are some of my favorite games. There's no place for an app.
I'm just talking in the respect of an app should be there to take away burden. That takes you away from your friends.
If it immerses you more, like my father's work immerses me into the game even more, like Freelancers, like Forgotten Waters, the parrot drops on the and drops on the boat, and you're just like, oh, that's hilarious. And then that little conversation that your captain is having with the parrot, and you're part of the game and you're immersed into it. And I think anything that can do that. No, I mean, this is in the first. I played the first one like a billion times when I teach them. Anyway, when you're part of that, it immerses you more deeply into that. And I think if an app completes both of those that you just mentioned, where it allows you to have more interaction and not have to take you away from that interaction, and allows you to immerse yourself in the story or get. I mean, Oathsworn, one of your favorite games, it does that really well.
I didn't say.
Well, I'm just saying it does it really. It did a really good job. ISS Vanguard does a really good job of and their apps that just immerses you into this with great voiceovers, with great, and those. One of the first ones that really done that for me was, and don't hate me for saying this, but Fantasy Flight's Mordor, the Lord of the Rings one. Yeah, like that was the first one that really just immersed me into the game, and I thought, okay, maybe there is a place for apps. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, and then from there they've been getting better and better. And the games that you've created you've been part of, both of them have made a huge leap into making me go, yeah, you need an app and you need a good one, just like this one.
Well, it's funny because I am kind of a sort of a Luddite at heart, and I don't like apps in games as sort of a general rule. And so that was a big part of the process of developing freelancers, and Forgotten Waters, I wasn't as big of a part in the creation of that app, but in the implementation of the audio and stuff. For me and the rest of the team, it's always like, what parts of this are necessary? Because it's easy to add more and more onto that app once you have it. And maybe that's speaking a little out of hand because we have like Joe on staff who makes the app for us and stuff. He's really good at it. So maybe it's too, maybe I'm oversimplifying how easy it really is. But from my end, it's easy to keep adding features to that. But like, I think I said this in our interview, but like the map and freelancers at one point, we had talked about having that be in the app, or even character sheets on each person's individual device or something. But you kind of kept coming back to like, I want to be making eye contact with my friends. I want to be manipulating physical pieces in real life. I look at screens all day. I don't want to be forced to look at this thing. It's a big part of why Colby pushed the audio in Forgotten Waters. It wasn't designed to have that originally. It would all just be reading, but it was like, well, this way you don't have to look at it. You can just hit play and then take your eyes back to your friends, So hopefully, as we all, as game companies, get used to this technology, we choose when we implement it maybe more wisely than it had been done sort of in the early days of the technology sort of entering the field.
Well, and that's something too, that subtitle, like when you're in the waters, in Forgotten Waters, when you flip to the page where you're at the sea or at the, sailing, you hear the back of that app, you hear the water hitting the side of the boat, you hear the seagulls flying over. I mean, it has that immersion that you're all at sea and you have this background noise that, even though you're having conversations over top of it, that's still there, and it's just a great feeling, I think, that really puts you into the game. And I think little things like that they miss out on. But you scare me when you say you wanted to go even deeper, because one of the things that Search for Planet X I absolutely dislike, because everybody has their own individual device, and you're putting in questions and you're getting answers, and then you're making a little movement on the middle, but everybody has that device in their hand. And it feels like, well, if I'm going to play a game, why do I need you guys at the table? I'm just going to go and play whatever little game I want to play on my phone. And why there's not enough here.
Well, and anytime you get a phone in your hand, it's an opportunity to look at your email, to
absolutely.
look at text,
something pops up. Your wife's like, when are you going to be home? And then you're like, crap. Let me answer this. And then you're out of the game. You're not immersed anymore. You're out of it.
Yeah, it's a device designed to distract you.
Yeah,
it's
right?
literally what the machine is for.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing, too, that has to be said about freelancers is, and this is a fun fact that I learned, maybe one of the biggest up-and-coming voice actors in the industry, Donald's daughter, was in freelancers. I shared this. One of the best moments that my kids
She's
had.
Also in Forgotten Waters, by the way.
Is she really?
She was really little. Yeah.
Nice.
So there's one part, spoilers. If you don't want to hear it, just fast forward about 35 seconds here. We were playing, my wife is a warrior, and we come to this area with sprites, I'm sorry. And we have to decide what we're going to do, because they're menacing. They look like they're going to attack. And my wife says, I'm a warrior. I'm just going to attack. So she rolls, crit hit, boom, we're moving. Well, then the voice pops up, and it's just like, Felicia! And it's like, the head just blows apart. And she's like, and then you just hear this little lispy kid voice, that was my sister. Oh. And everybody just looked at my wife and was like, you are an awful human being.
You are horrible.
This was weeks ago, and my kids still are just like, Felicia, no! One of the, like, if you haven't heard that line, like, I feel like we need to put it in this episode. We got to find it.
Yeah, right. Good luck.
If you have that soundbite, send it to me. It needs to be shared.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's great.
So amazing. So my kids would love it.
No, it's great. There's a bunch of things like that while playing freelancers, where there's that moment where you run into the crazy old wizard in the first thing, and you're just like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? And then, or you run into the dragon, you finally get to the dragon, and the dragon's like, hey, what are you doing around? What are you messing with? You're just like, let's attack him. And he's like, what? Like, where are you attacking me? It's just like, just that element of kind of like you're playing through a Rick and Morty episode or like you mentioned, the Simpsons episode, kind of like you're playing through that because it's that laugh wholehearted. I mean, for anybody who hasn't played Freelancers, it's here at Voss Media, or go buy it at your friendly local game store. It is an amazing game. I'm so happy that Donald, we have him on here because he did a great job with that and won the game of the year. So, I mean, we can't talk enough about it.
Yeah. Well, and Donald, the other part, too, that I think is really fascinating about your background, and Shay, you'll really appreciate this. He also went to school for sound engineering. That's actually what Shay went to school for.
It is.
I did. And I'll be paying that college debt for the rest of my life. Sweet board game money. Yeah.
We're right here.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
poor
maybe you
guy.
cut some
I'm
of those
sorry.
vices out that we just learned about. Those are pretty costly.
Yeah, those are pretty costly vices.
But,
models.
but you were telling me, though, your journey wasn't board games to start out of school. Why don't you kind of fill the audience in a little bit about where you started after college with your degree?
Sure. Yeah. I ended up working in a recording studio in Dallas at a studio called Okratron 5000 under Christopher Sabat, who is the narrator in Forgotten Waters and Freelancers.
Oh, nice.
He is the voice of Piccolo and Vegeta and like 20 other characters in Dragon Ball. And so I worked on that and Borderlands and some other stuff. I directed some anime dubs and all sorts of stuff. So my background was more in like film and video games and stuff. And I helped with a lot of board game stuff on the side because, people just kind of know like, oh, he's the audio guy. So like Gambling Games would send me like, do you know anybody who could do VO for our Kickstarter video or something, and I'll get somebody to do it as a favor or whatever. That was kind of my background for the longest time.
That's my audition right there.
That was your audition? That was horrible.
That was tough.
So
that was rough.
real quick, and then we'll jump on through the thing because I'm sure everybody's had a taste. They can definitely hear everything through Tabletop Tales and get the full interview and your background story and everything for that. So I used to do video game development back before I did this, so it's kind of weird how they connect a little bit together. Do you still do a lot of work on the side with video game and video game development, or no?
No, it's too stressful.
I agree. You're not arguing me.
Yeah, crunch and stuff like that. Even in companies that are not as bad about it, it's exhausting, man. I'm too old. I can't hang with those guys.
Okay.
It's just at a certain point. When my daughter was born, my wife made me promise to stop being a workaholic. She was like,
It's hard.
Like, you can't.
It's hard.
You can't be that guy anymore. And I'm usually successful at it.
And to be successful,
but to work in that industry,
you have to be.
You just have to be willing to. And that's maybe not right or maybe not fair, but it's just the truth of what that at least was when I was working in that industry. You just have to be willing to burn the candle at both ends, and I just can't do it anymore. I have nothing but respect for people who can.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and move on to some industry news.
Hey, yo.
This is our chance to talk about hot topics that are going on in the board game industry. And again, it's always wonderful to have a new voice on the show, so it'll be fun to see how Donald feels about many of these topics. So the first topic that we're going to talk about today is actually a new game coming out. It was created by the University of Liverpool, and the game is called Dementia Inequalities Game. And I wanted to talk about this, guys, because in my field, I've become very, very heavily engaged in the last 6 years with the Alzheimer's Association and the company I work for. And a little pat on my team's back. We've raised over $200,000 just here in West Michigan for the Walk to End Alzheimer's. And the reason I got so passionate because unfortunately most people don't get behind causes until it actually impacts them directly. And it's totally sensible why that happens. But unfortunately, Alzheimer's and dementia, it's one of those disease states that I always say it's a when disease, not an if disease. what people don't know is that 1 in 3 people in the United States who are over 83 will die from Alzheimer's dementia. It's the fastest growing disease state in the United States. And based on a forecast of financial costs with inflation, the estimated costs of somebody going through Alzheimer's dementia is expected by 2050 to be in excess of $750,000 during the life of the disease.
Wow.
So part of the reason why companies like mine get so engaged is because you work your whole life to build these assets just to see them go away for care costs. And it's absolutely devastating, but it's frustrating because it's one of those things that, again, I don't have a family member who's had it, hasn't impacted my family directly, but it's something that I have clients who seeing them come in and seeing them over time just change, and then they stop showing up to the appointments, and seeing the hardship on the spouse and to see the struggle and the emotions. And it's one of those things that, to be fair, I don't know that I would have cared as much if I didn't do what I do, but to see the impact that it makes on these lives is so devastating. And it's something that we all need to be more aware of, because the simple fact is like I said, all of us at this point are on pace to have somebody in our family go through this battle, and it's not pretty. It's not necessarily hard on the person going through it. It's hard on the person who has to care and love that person, because the person going through it, to be frank, as they cognitively drop, they don't know. But the caregiver, the loved one, the child, it's such a tough battle. So I'm so passionate about what this group is doing. And basically what it is they have created this game. It's to learn and engage about dementia inequalities. It basically talks about the first impacts of knowledge in the general population, which is very, very minimal. And then what they do is they illustrate barriers that people come up against, both pre and post dementia diagnosis, as well as the support available and the positive impact that this can have. It's been created by the University of Liverpool, and in a recent published paper, Dr. Clarissa Giebel, I'm probably saying that wrong, and I apologize for that. She's a senior research fellow in the Institute of Population Health at the University of Liverpool. She outlines how the game has created and its impact so far, which is that it's massively increasing the gap of lack of education in people to help further awareness, to generate the funding, to make this something possible, to hopefully find a cure for, which we have had some pretty big breakthroughs in the last 8 months with a couple different companies who have had some products going down a whole new pathophysiology that's different than what we've been doing for the last decade. So there's exciting stuff happening in the pharmaceutical world.
And I think, because my granddad had Alzheimer's, and I think, and it was when I was really young, not really young, but I was around elementary school, middle school, and he's the one who used to play checkers with me and Chinese checkers, and we had fun like that. And I think when I was going through that, especially being young, I didn't really get it. And when I hear something like this, I feel like this is a perfect thing for somebody who is younger, because it's a roll and move, and it's something that is simple. They can get to what's the game, Candyland or whatever. They know how to do this, and it won't just be a fun game. It'll be a game that will educational, that teaches you this, to especially for someone when I was a kid who didn't understand. So I am so happy that they are making this. I want a copy, but they're still in development. Look, hit me up. I'll help you out. My name is, you can find me on my wiki.
I do know that when you're starting to go through things like this, they actually recommend that you play board games to help with your cognitive ability to remember rules and moves and how to do certain things. Early onset, they start recommending, hey, playing board games with them and get them learning through that and seeing how much they remember the next time you play that with them, and keep their brain moving and kind of going. We actually have a couple members that have early onset that come here quite often, and they just love learning new games as much as they can learn and know. And sometimes I'll even be like, I don't remember how to do this, and they'll be, oh, you do it like this. And I'm like, let's go. Yeah. So I'm not passionate about it, and it hasn't hit me personally. I always joke with my wife because I forget everything, and without her, I would be worthless. So I hope that
and Shay, you bring up a great point too. Is I hadn't even thought about it yet, but what a great tool if you have a child and, you know, grandma or grandpa are going through this, to be able to do it in a relaxed way where it doesn't feel like, okay, sit down on the couch, we've got to talk about this. Now we're going to watch a video.
Yeah.
To me, it's a non-aggressive way to kind of subtly walk them through what it means and how it's going to impact grandma or grandpa. Like I said, it's almost shocking that somebody hasn't done this prior.
Yeah,
to be frank
right?
with
Like,
you.
this seems like something that should be out there or should be available by now.
And I do know that there have been, like, there's a whole TikTok channel who's dedicated about games for good. And, like, developers are making more games that are more than just the game. So, yeah, it's just, I'm happy to hear
Excited.
it.
Donald, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I have had 2 people in my life that I've recently lost to dementia and Alzheimer's, and I think it's a good idea. I mean, I'd be curious, sort of what methods it's using to sort of communicate, just from a sort of, I guess, sort of design perspective. You know,
Yeah.
Tabletop games are a very interesting. You know, I could see a lot of ways that video games could sort of explore the topic in sort of interesting and sort of tasteful ways. I'm curious to see how a board game, you know, can sort of explore the topic, because board games are so memory dependent, you know, like they live in our heads in a way that, it's an interesting thing too, because I think it is something that becomes more real the older you get, and sort of becomes more tragic, sort of the older you get.
Yeah.
But you're right, that Shay, that it is it is probably more confusing and sort of just, maybe not even confusing, but just not hard to make a connection to the problem and what's happening when you're a kid. And I could definitely see a board game being a good method for, like, my daughter. You know, she just has these people in her life, you know, but basically doesn't, you know, she understands on sort of an intellectual level that you know, that they have issues remembering, but that's, you know, probably no more sort of a deeper understanding than that. So that seems cool. Yeah, I support it. I'll allow him to make that, I suppose.
Oh, as long as you say okay.
Yeah,
Put a stamp
I
on it.
won't
We're
veto
good.
that one.
Go ahead and keep it going then. Good job.
Well, and that's where I kind of see the future of a lot of that through, like, augmented reality. Like, to me, that's where I have hope of devices like the new Apple Vision coming out. Is, you know, I don't think it's really about a 120-foot screen in front of you to watch Netflix.
But it is. Trust me from playing on it, but it is.
But I think, you know, when you think about what's possible, especially with artificial intelligence, the way that it can recreate voices and, you know, it can make pictures into moving objects. I think, like, to help give people dealing with that, like, the audio and visual of a loved one from the past in front of them, to give them that comfort at times where maybe they're really having a bad day. You know, I think that could be an incredible place to help give some comfort and peace when they're having those days, which they do. And so
hats off to Liverpool for the University of Liverpool to tackle that kind of thing. I don't know, again, who other than an education facility to do such a thing. So
Right,
good
and
job.
do it with the tact that it needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I'll also do voiceover work if they need it for an app.
Really?
In a world.
No, you
Wasn't
can't
there a
stop.
game 5 or so years ago that was sort of about helping a person cope with sort of end of life care?
Cancer.
I remember playing this.
Cancer.
Yeah, there was a video game.
Yeah.
A video game for I think.
Well,
it was a
this was a board game. I played
was
at
it?
BGG or something. Boy, I'm not helping because I don't remember what it was called or who designed it.
Cool
but there
story,
was
Donald.
sort of a.
Oh yeah, good
It
job.
broke.
Way to point
it broke
that,
out
pinpoint
with.
Yeah.
It broke out with a little bit of sort of, you know, somewhat mainstream success. Obviously, it wasn't a huge game, or else any one of us would be able to remember it. But
Yeah, right.
Well, I remember it came in the
but those are
box.
Yeah, oh, is it a
those
box?
are it was,
art on
yeah.
it.
The
Yeah,
box
okay.
was blue and it had a guy in a bed and and
Pandemic?
yeah. There's
No.
been some of There's been some of that those themes, I feel like people are more prepared to deal with sort of more interesting subject matter in the space of games. You see the stuff like
and why not? I've seen some really bad games, so why not try to tackle and at least educate me in an area that I'm uneducated in? I think that's
yeah. I mean, even stuff like John Company and stuff that just deals
right?
with like weird subject matter, tough subject matter, and sort of puts you in the shoes of the people who are sort of in these worlds that can be sort of exciting, creative ground.
I gifted that to Dion for our holiday show. Did you play it yet?
I have not played it yet.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, you haven't had like 6 hours?
Yeah, I haven't had 6 hours available to set and play yet. So.
A game that the rules teach is supposedly like 4 of the 6 hours.
Yes. I haven't had 8-9 hours of my life to set and play that game. Sorry.
It just tells you what a big boy it is when Shut Up and Sit Down has to do a 45-minute video on it too. So,
Yeah.
Shut up and sit down tomorrow.
Yeah. Exactly. So with that, we'll move on to our second topic of the week.
Hey-o.
This is one. So the first one was something I'm a little bit passionate about. The next one's going to get Dion all fired up.
Hey-o.
So
run it.
When you have a company like this putting out a game of this stature, it's going to be news. So 2024 bringing us more bangers. So, of course, we've got Brass Birmingham, the #1 game of all time, at least last I looked, on BGG. And then I think Lancaster is top 10, maybe, top 5.
Maybe.
All time. And with that said, Roxley is going to be putting out a new Brass game later this year.
Sounds exciting.
And so... Of course, a company as successful as Roxley with hits like Dice Throne.
Yep.
Of course, the Brass series.
Those amazing things the
clay
things that I love to play with here. The
chips,
token chips, I love those.
Radlands, which is
Radlands is good.
Radlands.
Yeah, Radlands is
So
good.
some great games. They'd be better if they were made by Plaid Hat, of course. But
I like you're feeding him today. That's good. That's good.
He's just like, okay, we get
whatever,
Roxley.
man. Whatever,
But here's an interesting thing. This is where Plaid Hat takes the cake over Roxley's, and I love Roxley, but this gets back to a big topic. They, as successful as they are going to be taking this through crowdfunding instead of direct retail, which is something that Plaid Hat Games does not do.
Well, I'm gonna say this. What games? How do they get into the gaming? Like, how did they get their first game in? Because
Brass has been a success through the community. In fact,
I mean,
it wasn't that
Brass
successful.
was Lancaster was 2017,
and then what did they use? Did they use
they kickstarted everything.
So
did they kickstart Brass? I don't think they did originally.
Because that's what I'm saying. If they did,
they might have done like a extra pieces or whatever. But again, it was one that I've seen slowly grow because it was very hard to get your hands on in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think they had the original version of Brass. I had that. I don't think that was
old.
That was
Yeah, I think it's like
2007,
an
right?
old one.
Frog God Games, or I don't know what the heck it was.
Like
some other
cover
company.
or something, right? Yeah, is that over there? It's a black and white
that
cover, I think.
the
I've got
one
it
with
somewhere
like the
around here.
guy who's like standing and had the little plastic pieces.
That one's old. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like maybe Lancashire and Birmingham were like, okay, we're gonna kickstart these with deluxe components from the get-go. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
My hot take is I've always preferred the ugly version.
Yeah, right?
Which Eagle Games. is
Eagle
who
Griffin.
put-
Eagle
I
games.
love
I knew it
Eagle
was an
Griffin
animal.
games. Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah, Martin Wallace. That's
Yeah.
who put Brass out initially. So what do we think about it, though, for a company with as much success as they've had? Again, kind of cutting, let's be honest about it. It's cutting retailers out.
Well, we don't know until they release it and see if there's a retailer pledge in it,
That's
too.
awesome.
I mean,
Okay.
I will give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that's something I was thinking about when you were announcing it, that I won't go straight for the throat until I see what they're going to look like. If I'm able to allow my customers to pre-order it through me with this Kickstarter, because sometimes they do that. They give you a bonus, a benefit, allows me to get it the same day that they're going to release it to everybody else, and they don't have to pay shipping, and I don't have to pay shipping because I'm ordering X amount of them. So it's kind of a win-win. By the time you pay shipping, you're almost paying the retail cost anyway. So a lot of my customers don't mind that buying it direct. So if they do that, bonus. Like, I'm 100% on board. because I'm a huge Euro fan, and I think this game's going to be I can't wait to try it.
Yeah.
I mean, just by putting the name on it, I'll give it a shot.
Donald, I want to ask you, because in my Tabletop Tales episode with Jamie Stagmeyer of Stonemeyer Games, something that he had said was that their first few games, Viticulture, Euphoria, Scythe, they were all through crowdfunding, but they made the conscious decision to start really embracing community and going directly to local game stores. And that's something that Plaid Hat has also decided to do. So what's kind of the logic on your side with a game like Freelancers to say, should we go through crowdfunding or should we just go directly to the game stores and retail?
Well, it's interesting. Freelancers and every previous Plaid Hat game, and I would be curious to run by Dion some of our other games, because I bet he'll have some very feisty sort of opinions about these. But we've never used crowdfunding, even previous to me being there, and that was part of our owner. His philosophy is like, he believed like every game we put out, we put our own money into it, and should read as like there is a risk for us there because we believe in this game. Now we have found our status, for whatever reason, in the board game industry, over time, to have slowly been, I feel, this is my opinion, does not reflect Plaid Hat Games, but I feel like I've watched Plaid Hat post Dead of Winter, their sort of status in the board game community, slowly get chipped away at by probably 200 or so Kickstarter publishers. I don't feel like they're the big name in the industry that they used to be compared. And I don't think that's necessarily, some of it can just be because the games aren't as good. Some of it can be this or that. But something we've talked about a lot internally is like, is Kickstarter just where people go to find out about board games now?
Yep.
And are you just sort of hampering your own marketing campaign by doing it the way we did it with Freelancers, right? We try to do everything right, but then you still have people come up to you when the game is coming out at Gen Con and go, whoa, I totally missed the Kickstarter for this. Like, people say that to us constantly.
Yeah,
whenever they demo one of our games, they go like, this is crazy. I never even saw the Kickstarter for this. And it's like, oh yeah, we're not on. And so, part of me is a little sympathetic to the idea that maybe it's almost like you don't need to do it, but it's almost just like the customer has just gotten to the point where they're like, that's where I find board games. How do you all feel about that? I don't know.
Well, I don't want to speak for every retailer, right? Like, I'm not going to speak for every retailer that's out there. I'm going to speak for what I do and what I try to do.
I do speak for every publisher.
Well, I figured you did, so you need to talk to your buddies and make them stop doing. No, I'm just kidding. It's an advertising tool, and you would be silly. Anybody that's in business, and I'm in business, it would be silly for them to come to me and go, well, you know what? Now you can't advertise on Google because we feel Google's taking money away from whatever. And
Yellow Pages.
Well, that's your days, Yellow Pages, or whatever it may be. And Google's a very successful way for me to advertise, or Facebook. Facebook is another successful way for me to advertise. That's how people find me. When have you heard of me? Oh, Google or Facebook or Meetup so you can't remove that away from an option. And I wouldn't look negative on Plaid Hat if they go, hey, we're going to release this because it's an advertising tool. We're going to offer this on Kickstarter direct to retailer, because there's many people that don't have a friendly game store like mine close to them. So you can't go, well, we did really good sales in Southwest Michigan, but the rest of the country, or
Sure.
And there's other places like mine. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but anyway, you're limiting your radius, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at the bigger picture, being a bigger company. Releasing it on Kickstarter is not my problem. This is where my problem is. And this is where I kind of draw the line with this. We've talked many times about this on the show, is that you can release on Kickstarter, just have it something in there promoting in-store retail sales for the guys that do you right through retail and have supported you through retail. Do that with them. Maybe even offer, hey, retailers, we're going to give you a free demo copy if you do this pledge, because we want you to have it in your store ready to play day one, so you can have copies, and continue sales, because that's where your continued sales is going to be. It's not a one pop, thank you, come again, mentality. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people use Kickstarter as that. And a lot of companies, I email them constantly like, we would love to carry your games. How the hell do we get them? You don't have a retail pledge.
Yeah.
You don't have an ability to go, like, how do we get your games? And some have been nice enough to contact me back and go, well, we're small. There's like 5 of us. We can get you copies. How many would you like? And we can create that relationship, but that's fine. But a lot of stores won't do that. Won't take that extra step. So you have to put something out there and go, yes, it is on Kickstarters, and we prefer you to order it through your local game store if you have one. But if you don't, here's a way for you to get our game. Yeah. And we're advertising. It's out there. And we've got all the information of what we're looking to do, make this really cool experience. And it actually takes less advertisement for me when they come in asking me, hey, are you going to get this Kickstarter? Yeah, there's a retail pledge. Hell yeah, I'll get it. If you're interested in it, you could pre-order it through me.
And that's what I kind of see Kickstarter.
Or even GameFound is probably the best at it. GameFound's great.
Just crowdfunding in general.
Crowdfunding in general,
Which I personally like crowdfunding or GameFound a little bit more.
I like it way better.
Because they do that payment structure now.
Absolutely.
Because I'll say this. My thing is from a marketing perspective, Donald, to answer your question, yes, that's the hype machine that's built with the goal unlocks. You can't argue with the success that it's had for some games. I think of like The Witcher is a great example. Yep. I mean, that game blew up. I think they had over $6 million on funding for their Kickstarter. But I almost feel like there's a little bit of like a bell curve, and we're starting to come back down on the hype around crowdfunding. I've seen a lot of content creators now starting to get relatively negative because at the end of the day, from a consumer perspective, I get it from a business perspective. You're getting for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, a 0% loan, and you're getting all the money, and the hype around your game, and how many products you need to make, so you're limiting the excess production, so you're not wasting money with copies sitting around. So I get it completely from the retail or the production side of it. But on the flip side of it, my bigger thing is as a consumer, I'm tired of giving somebody $200 because everything's $200.
Yeah, everything is.
And
$250.
You can't get the standard pledge because that's a potato. So, I got to get the fancy. Oh, you want a car? You want wheels on that? Well, that's an extra $50. Oh, you need a steering wheel? That's important. That's another $35. And they're all made of chrome and metal and gold. And I buy it all.
Yes, you do.
So with that said, I think the big thing is that as a consumer, I'm tired of loaning my money out. And then you have, and Donald, I know you can agree with me on this, freaking Mythic Games and companies like that have utterly mismanaged numerous projects. I was an all-in backer on Rainbow Six Siege, still waiting on that one. All-in backer on Monster Apocalypse, literally just a reprint. You don't even have to make anything. Just take the model, the STL. Brandon can make them for me. God. And it's like, you're not making anything new. Just print them and send it to me. I gave you all that money. And so from that perspective, I think you're seeing a lot of consumers see it. And now we're in this world where there's the $1 pre-pledge, which that's been a big topic on the BGG Facebook forum. And it's just like, you want $1 from me now just to kick the tires? Like, come on.
Well, what about this? You can have your cake and eat it too. You start a Kickstarter for the advertisement of it. Your pledges are a bronze sticker, a silver sticker, and a gold sticker. And then as you release the boxes, the only way you get the game is through your local game store. And it has a spot on the game box for the sticker that you pledged. And it's just like a 50-cent pledge, $1 pledge.
You sound like you're like a 24 telethon.
Yeah.
I love this. It's just literally a little thing like, hey, look, I backed this.
Exactly.
Look,
and
yes,
you
I
get
put a sticker on
you
it.
100% get the hype from backing it in the pledge. And then
Okay.
you have
Unlock
to
the
buy the
platinum
game
sticker.
Yeah. Ooh, I spent
got the platinum. Listen, that was a
$1.50
big
on
deal.
this.
Oh my God,
but-
he's
but
got
wait.
the obsidian.
Yes.
Today we will be revealing a 5th sticker.
But
Damn it, I got the first one.
Let's keep it going, though. We could do that because look at this. You can have it so people can have like maybe not even a sticker. Maybe it's like a QR code or whatever. And so you was like, oh yeah, send my copies to this place because this is my local game store, and they can show you the copy. You can hand out like it was GameStop.
Hey, what I would like, let's do this. This is a better idea. Let them just go ahead and buy everything there and then say, send my copies to Boss Media Board Game Cafe, right? And then they just send me a check of the difference in profit. So I don't even have to buy it out. I don't even have to, they could just send me a check for
I'm sorry,
carrying
but-
it, putting it on my shelf. I like. How do we make that happen?
Why, wait,
Stickers
so-
are not a logistical nightmare. I will let you know that right now.
So here's
Stickers
through
are.
this. Through this, my brain has lasered in on what I find concerning about the whole
Okay,
thing
gotcha.
with brass specifically. For me, as a sort of person who loves brass, one of my favorite games of all time. I love Martin Wallace. Most of the games that really do well, not all, but most of the games that do really well in crowdfunding are designed, part of the design mentality, to include crowdfunding and the way that those are structured to be super successful as part of the design philosophy, right? When you're designing the game from the ground up, you know you're going to crowdfund it. And that is informing the decisions you're making in terms of what sort of components do you need to have in this game in order for it to do well? Are you unlocking things? How expandable does it need to be? And a lot of stuff that you would normally go, actually, let's cut this. This isn't worth putting in the box. Suddenly becomes Kickstarter sort of unlocks. Normally in a game design, right, you would be sort of chopping pieces off of the game and making it tighter and slicker. But that all sort of gets a little messier when you could sort of make those stretch goals. And it makes me wonder, how does that interact with what they're thinking of for brass? Because the last two brasses, right, were sort of a polishing and rethinking of a pre-existing game. If we're coming with a new game, a brand new design with the name Brass on the box, and we're thinking of it as a crowdfunding thing, that's where my brain goes is, are you going to have a bunch of sort of like mediocre modules that I'm sort of unlocking, or some sort of component that is like sort of in this tertiary mechanism that's not good, but it does enable us to have a bunch of stuff in our, unlockables and add-ons and whatnot. That's kind of, because brass is such a
even the newest
tight
brass, though. Even the newest brass, it was like the pieces in there are solid. Like they're not crappy pieces.
But they're not made of brass,
for sure.
which I feel is a little
That's
misleading.
true, and that
It
pissed
is
me
true.
off.
Yeah, should be. Chip Theory Games did it.
I'm
So,
done.
I'm
Although
still.
I would to say that I would pay, and this is going back on what I just said. I would pay a little bit of money to have better pieces in freelancers. I like the price point, but I would love to have like standees, or those better standees instead of the cardboard ones, or maybe even better chips that you can draw in the bag. And I
so
imagine
Donald,
after a
it
bunch
sounds
of
like you
use.
should have kickstarted.
No,
and
well,
cut
you
Dion
should
out
have
of it.
definitely. You should have definitely kickstarted. No, you should have definitely offered an upgraded. What do we call those? Those
Kickstarter.
Upgrade kits or
deluxified,
whatever.
yeah, deluxified upgrade kit. Yeah, that's what I would.
I'm such a granola hipster that I'm like, dude, this is your opportunity to like make it your own.
dude, do it yourself.
Well, let's be honest.
Make it.
The company that did the best idea for crowdfunding to make a lot of money on stupid stuff, Flamecraft.
Oh yeah, they did.
Just
They
make
did.
those stupid dragon plushies.
And that was in the same
And everybody
price
wants
range.
them.
That was the $40 price range box. And then if you want this, you got to buy this. You got this. You want,
this dragon. You want this dragon.
Yeah.
You get the pink dragon.
Yeah, you can. No, we don't put
I
the
mean,
pink dragon
people-
in the
that-
box. But
That
people are
only
crazy
worked
for those.
because they had such gorgeous art. We've tried
Yes,
doing
I
stuffed
agree.
animals
Yeah.
from our games before.
it didn't work. I would buy one of those dragons of what you guys have in the book. I would definitely buy one of those.
Yeah,
Hey, we only have
yeah.
one.
Yeah, one dragon. I would buy that one
One
dragon
dragon.
and the wizard.
But I was say Dion's fought that dragon like 20 times. So.
Yes, I fought the.
So it feels
there's
like
at least
more.
20 of them in my book.
So moving on to our last industry news topic for the week, and unfortunately, it's kind of been a little negative news. Obviously, we heard about Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro cutting quite a few people, and unfortunately, we're seeing that across quite a few industries right now with a lot of jobs being cut. But the company who does the Funco games just sold their board game assets and Prospero Hall to Goliath Studios. And unfortunately, shortly after that was done, it was announced that all but just 5 people with the Prospero Hall group had lost their jobs like the next day. So obviously some big news in the industry, especially with Funco being a part of that. So Donald, I know you had some friends who were a part of that.
Yeah. I had more than one friend who, acquaintance who
I'm about
lost.
to say, let's be honest. How many
job
friends do you really have? I don't.
Right. Yeah. Who lost their jobs in that situation?
Yeah.
And, all I'll say about it is like two things. Like one, like fuck a Funko Pop. Have any? Never gonna. You can't get me to buy one. That's a Beanie Baby. You're not gonna trick me. I didn't fall for it the first time. Not falling for it this time.
I'm with you.
And two, I think we had multiple people come up to us at Gen Con when Freelancers debuted and said that the folks at the Ravensburger Funko booth sent them our way to check out Freelancer.
Oh, nice.
And so I'm not saying that there's a connection there, but I'm not saying there's not.
Okay.
But Funko Games
Just
for
saying.
me, they none of their games popped for me at all. And I didn't play the Island of Newbar, but none of
I
their
don't
games
like that pun.
other than Pan Am, none of their games popped at all. So Funko Pops, they were all like little, play the whatever. None of them did anything to me. I liked
even their booth or
Pan
not their
Am.
booth, but
That's
the
about
room that they had at Gen Con. I mean, I spent 30 seconds in there, and like they opened early, and it's like, hey, everybody can come in, and everybody's standing waiting, and it's like, oh, why is nobody going in there? I guess I'll go in. And
you realized it was a bad call.
that was the first room I went in at Gen Con. I was like, this is.
There has been some good Funko games. I need y'all.
Name 3.
I got you. Pan Am was one.
Oh, no, you can't name one I named. Name 3 other ones. Name 3 new ones.
It honestly, everyone's like tiptoeing around this.
Rear
No
fe-
one works there anymore. We're not going to offend anybody.
Wow.
I said, no, it's more. No,
That's
I'm
the
more
work
mad.
of
No,
those people.
Yeah,
me
those people
being-
did a good job on some good things. Like they did the Villainous. Even though it's done by Ravensburger, that group did Disney Villainous, which is
Prospero Hall did
Yeah.
that Jaws game. That Jaws
Yeah,
game.
the Jaws game was
game.
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not Funko Games. It was in Funko, but the people at these people did really good work.
Yes.
And when you say, "Oh, I'm going to buy this," obviously because they're successful and they do good, and you go, "I'm going to buy this studio," and then you go, "Let's go ahead and rip out the heart of this studio, and I'll keep 5 of you. The rest of you are worthless." That's kind of that's a kick in the
And
balls. I think that is.
I guarantee you, the dumbest freaking executive is still there. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
dude,
Oh, yeah.
you know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always a way.
The guy that doesn't deserve to be there still got his job, right?
yeah.
And he's the one that had to tell everybody else, "Oh, by the way, you all are losing your jobs, but I get to keep mine." And everybody's like, "What, you?" And then,
Well, I don't get a bonus if I don't fire all of you. So.
yes. I mean, they did say in the article that they sent them away with, I think, 2-week checks. So at least you get the next 2 weeks. We'll take care of you while you go find a new job, even though you're doing what you love here and creating this awesome games that you've done. And I said Funko, granted, isn't the same as this. Funko Games, I didn't care for. I cared for a lot of their games. This the studio, Prospero Hall. I like a lot of what they did.
Yeah.
So I'm not pooping on their work. I think they did a great job. But
Well, and so I
Listen, any of these people, if you're a publisher watching this, try to help them out. Bring them on board at least for a little bit, or I might fucking put you on blast next. That's
Yeah,
all I'm
well,
saying. Funko Pops today. It's whatever the heck you make tomorrow.
yeah.
By the way, I had all the Beanie Baby bears. All right, I'm gonna tell you that right now. They're coming back. Everything's cyclical. Everything. I got Valentino bear. I got Princess Diana bear.
Oh my god.
I mean,
The
I
lucky
Kickstart
bear,
that.
the
Let's
green
kickstart
one,
that.
Emerald bear.
I do have
Patriot
like
bear.
almost all the Steven Universe of Funko Pops. I'm not
Oh
gonna
my
lie
gosh,
to you
stop.
because I
Yeah.
love that show.
You two are done.
Well, one day.
Me and you, buddy. Me and you. Me and you. That's it.
Monster.
Monsters.
So with that, we wish the best to all of those who recently went through that. We hope you and your families are safe, and hopefully good fortune comes your way soon. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next segment. And it's kind of exciting because our guest actually came up with the topic of the week. And, of course, that segment is none other than the pit.
Keep rolling.
Keep going, yeah. I don't know what you're doing.
I told you I'm
That-
playing hard today.
that
I'm
is-
playing hard
that's rough.
like a champion.
That is. You were
I
really
keep-
going to go deep, and
I
then
went-
you just
I
You
went
trying that
deep.
one more
I
time?
went too deep.
We're gonna go.
That was
Crash and burn.
perfect.
Crash and burn.
That was- yeah.
Run it.
That was.
It's like a smoker Scott, but I never smoked. So
There you go.
wow.
So what is the pit
You
about?
want to try it again?
Holy cow,
No,
I don't-
we're good.
I don't
Go
even
right
know
into
if I
it.
should.
No, you're done.
I'm afraid.
Oh,
I
you're
got
good.
you. I got you. Ready? This camera right here.
Yes, the one camera we're using.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the.
Oh my God.
Never mind.
Donald, you want to try?
The pile of shame.
The pile of shame. Yes. We're done.
Yeah, we're just
Actually, that's one of our segments we normally do when you're not here. Is
The fall of the sword.
Fall on the
Fall on the
sword,
sword.
where we make fun of each other for things we messed up. So,
Yeah.
well, now we have one for next week. So.
Yeah.
All right, with
Love
that,
an inside
Donald came up with a wonderful topic, and it's actually the shelf of shame.
Shelf of shame.
So we
Shelf of
discussed
shame.
this over
Or like you like to
email
say,
when
the
I was
opportunity.
asking
Yeah,
Donald
shelf of opportunity, but yeah.
if there shelf of way to be positive. I've got a big one. So, so with that said, Donald had the opinion. Donald, I'll kick it to you. Your opinion on the shelf of shame.
Well, so basically, this last year, I got really into Raw. It was that big fancy edition of Raw. I had never played Raw. I got Raw. It turns out that game that people have been saying is good for like a couple decades or whatever is really good. I really like Raw, and we did something different with this. I moved recently. I have a new game group that I've put together, and I've noticed that they want to do something I haven't done in a really long time, which is play the same game more than once. Something that, as an enthusiast in the hobby, I had kind of gotten away from. And I've come to really appreciate playing a game like 10 or 12 times. We get together like once a week. And every time we get together, we play Raw. We play another game. And often I'm showing them a game they haven't played before. But we've always got Raw. And now we're drifting into like, we've played Alien Frontiers a couple times. And I sometimes think with Kickstarter and the fear of missing out and the sort of cult of the new, we're always chasing after these sort of new hits and the potential, the promise of this game night that we're never going to have. But often if you walk into your friendly local game store, they can point you to a great game that they can guarantee you is good because it's been good all this time and it's not going to stop being good in the next 10 years, right over there on that shelf. And I think sometimes it's easy to lose sight of the joy of playing the games you own. That was my hot take. My very hot take is enjoy cold things.
Well, in the spirit of the pit, just know, as you're a newcomer, I'll be gentle with you, but not too gentle. The pit, we make decisions. Even if we sometimes get wishy-washy fence setters, like some of us.
I don't remember
You got to
that.
take a side, and you got to go full bore. And I'm full tilt, steam ahead, just like my Lions, into the NFC playoffs, championships. And that is, there's nothing better on the shelf of shame than a growing number of saran-wrapped games. Because the beauty is, Donald, is that they don't go bad. It's almost like a bottle of wine. The longer it sits there, sometimes the better it gets.
Really?
Because it reminds you of how things used to be back in the day. You love this game, right? Because it reminds you of the past. This game hasn't gone bad. Smells like 1990 cardboard. I think it smells wonderful. Like a good cigar. And so with that said, I would say I love to collect board games. Obnoxiously so. My wife hates it. She hates everything about it. She hates when the box shows up with another wonderful delight. But I have this belief that as long as I keep buying them, one day I'll find a game like Freelancers that my kids will enjoy and will play together, and it will be ceremonious. But if I don't buy them, if I don't keep adding to the collection, that game may never end up on my shelf.
Yeah.
And we'll never play it together.
So what we're hearing is that because I
That's
have
mental
a problem
illness.
with
That is a mental
no, it is like this is actually an intervention.
I'll be gentle with you. And you have a mental illness, sir.
I feel like this is an intervention for us because we are addicted to the new board smell. And for my take, we need to start playing our old games. we will chase this high. And I don't want to talk too badly because my dealer is right next to me.
That is true.
So I don't want to go high. But I have a shelf of
Come on in,
games.
Shay. I got another rolling right for you.
That's right. I got to roll it right.
Oh,
with
you heard
a solo
season
game
3.
that you don't even know.
Real good.
I do want to be clear. I'm not opposed to people buying new games. I
Right.
just want people to play the games they own.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I
Like, as long as you're like, as long as this happens a lot in RPGs, it happens a lot
Oh,
in
yes.
miniature games. It happens a ton. This idea of like, one day I'll play this game. I'm gonna spend $1,000 on it or 1,000 hours of designing my little world or whatever. But like the actual joy of this hobby that has been easy for me to get away from in the past is like the face-to-face interaction with other people. And sometimes you see this a lot on like board game Reddit. People who the collecting of the game has almost replaced the playing of the game. And I don't think that's the same thing, right? Like, I think you can buy new games, but still get the sort of the sense of sort of accomplishment that comes with getting good at a game. Like, what if you played a game enough to know the ins and the outs of it, and then the next time you play, your friend's like, "Oh, I remember how you did that. Not this time, sucker," or whatever. That interpersonal thing. I found a lot of joy of like kind of coming back around to that.
I think he's looking into my soul when he says that.
He does.
He's literally talking to a guy
staring
who
you
has
down.
a starter set for Star Wars Legion, for Blood Bowl, for Marvel Protocol. Just bought some stuff for free blades.
I got a bunch of Blood Bowl teams I've painted up and I've never played. One day I'll find a friend who wants to play.
And you watch those videos of the guys who've made the incredible football fields. You're like, I'll do that. I'll do that. What
I
are you
should
gonna
build
do
a
with
custom
that?
field. Then I'll finally get someone to play.
Yeah, exactly. After it's bought, somebody will do it.
Yeah, so totally think that the guy who's looking at his shelf of shame in all that saran wrap is akin to the guy who's like longingly looks at his high school football trophy. Like, don't let your dreams be dreams. Like, let's say that you peaked after high school and you get to play those games.
So I get frustrated. I agree with what you're saying to a point because I have over 1,400 games in here, and I do get frustrated with always having to teach the new or the next big thing, or frustrated with going to the hot ones that I'd never really get a chance to go back and play the second series of freelance. I always got to play, and so we hurry past through it. There are other quests than the one that I do every time. And to go back so I understand what you're saying. However, I have to 100,000 billion% disagree with both of you because if you don't get a game when you want it, has been a problem to get it down the road. Like, it isn't like they don't.
That
go
means
away
that game sucks.
Well, that's not true. That's not always
That's
true.
not always true.
That is
That's
not always
100%
true.
true.
That is not always true. That is not always
Can you give us
true.
some examples, Donald?
Yeah, I disagree because you can't. There are some games that you go, man, where is it? You go to look it up and you can't find it anywhere. And I really enjoyed that game, and I want to share it with family or friends or someone that I thought. When I first opened the shop, I felt like an old man. I was going back going, oh, I really enjoy. And I'm like, oh, they don't even make that anymore. Like, well, why doesn't somebody and maybe they will down the road release it again. But there's some games that you should have in your collection and play. My biggest concern is I've got the eyes are bigger than my ability to play. So like I'll see something that I'll go, oh, I've got to have every expansion for it, but I never get I always play just the base. And then every time I'm teaching it, it's just the base. And we're playing the next section of that base. And I never get to go. I'm like, let's don't add in these right now because it's just too much to learn. And so those are my problems. I've got too much expansions or want to have because I want all the pieces because I have to have all the pieces, but I don't. So I understand that problem that you guys have, but I'm telling you, as your superior in this matter, your drug dealer, you have to buy every game that you look at in the store every time.
I am proud of you.
I'm just saying, if they follow my methodology, suddenly your store, you don't have to all these dumb Kickstarter games that nobody's going to care about 6 months from now. You don't have to figure out what to move. You're like, look at this shelf. These are all good games. You will never have enough time in your life to play them all. And then you could just sell them all to everybody. It's so easy for you to stock. And Freelancers is one of those games. Of course, I would never like contribute a game to the universe that was a waste of someone's mortality.
The problem is there's different strokes for different folks.
Hey,
I guess like I'm a Euro game. I like to play Euros, but I also
like
enjoy
Lacerda
Freelancers.
Games. Like Lacerda Games.
Why you mentioned that? I did not. And so you might think it's a crap shit game, but it might be the best thing he's ever played. So that's why you have to stock the. Like Heat. Like I don't think Heat's that great. He loves Heat. Like he thinks Heat's the.
I love Heat.
Oh, it was the best game of 2023. I don't want to say anything less about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
With the guy with Freelancers who created the game in
And
2020.
they didn't let me put it in because it came out late 2022.
Donald, let's not misconstrue this.
It came out in
I
2022.
thought I liked you.
I thought I liked you.
Freelancers won by a landslide.
Loved Heat, but they were like,
Freelancers
no. So that's why Days of Winter won the Publisher of the Year
no.
because I can do that.
2022.
You won by a landslide. Won by a landslide. But
I love
Sorry.
Heat. I'm in a by the way, part of this new methodology in my life is I have a friend and we have lunches together once a week, and every lunch we just work our way through a campaign in Heat. Just playing through a full what do they call it? GOAT mode or whatever. We're doing that.
Yep.
And it's been really enjoyable.
Somebody's
in the
ready for
past
that
we would have
expansion
played a
coming out.
different game every time.
Heavy Rain. Oh,
you ready for
Rain?
Heavy Rain?
Yeah.
I'm so excited for
I
it.
can't stand the rain.
Hey, Donald, what are you painting back there? Brandon wanted us to ask.
What am I painting?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's painting?
I'm just chewing on a paintbrush because I'm a freak. I'm not painting anything.
Yes. I knew better to ask. That was a good one.
Well, if you get bored, I'm going to put a little plug in. Brandon, who you don't see, but you saw him earlier. Brandon has a new Freeblade set coming out at Adepticon here in 2 months. So if you ever get bored, you want to learn a new tabletop miniatures game to put on your shelf.
I've
Freeblades.
just gotten into tabletop miniatures this year. I've been getting into, my buddies got me into Mordheim and the Doomed. I love Gaslands. I play none of these games, but I do really enjoy the idea of them. And one day I will actually
The
play
idea
them.
of them.
Yes, if you like Mordheim, DGS Games Freeblades is great. Yes, it is.
Okay, I will check it out.
Yes,
I
please
promise.
do.
Donald, so Brandon's got me playing. I had a chance to play last week, and I will put a plug here. I think the thing you would like about it, because one of the things that you shared with us in the Tabletop Tales was your backstory of loving to tell stories and loving the idea of campaigns, and obviously that's the whole metamorphosis of what Freelancers is a campaign and a story, and that's actually what's kind of unique. It got me excited about Freeblades is it is a campaign. There's multiple layers to it, so you'll play a map. Things will happen. It'll impact who can be on the board the next game. So it actually has a campaign element to it versus just a one-shot.
That's the thing that got me excited about Mordheim. So if there's like a game with actual new mechanics that's like not a ancient, crusty old game,
Brandon,
that got that same sort of campaign vibe, I'm all about it. Sounds great.
And
That's
DGS,
my game
the
of
guys-
2024.
There you go. Well, DGS, the guys that do it are amazing guys. I mean, they're easy to get along with. It's just a small group. I know what, there are 2 or 3 of them. I mean, yeah, like 2 or 3 people, and they're always friendly, retail friendly. I can send them a message. They answer directly. They listen to my feedback as a retailer. So they're a small group, but they're getting very big. Brandon's going to go to Adepticon and show off his new stuff he's got coming. But
What does DGS stand for? Doggone silly?
It is, the original guys were ex-military, so DGS stands for Dead General Society.
Oh, that's very scary.
yeah, very welcoming.
I like that way better.
I like that.
Yeah, I like
I feel like
Dead
you need a
General
proper
Society
tunnel
is-
right now.
Dead General Society games. I like that.
I want
Well,
to make an RPG.
I
called
feel
Dead
like I would
General.
be in a militia if I bought something
Yeah.
from Dead General.
What? And I didn't know about this.
I think Ohio does
You're
have a militia
flagged.
if you're looking, Donald. So
If you do go to their website, you do get flagged by the FBI. Other than that, you're good.
keep in mind, this is a guy. This is a guy who lived in BFE, Michigan, Missouri,
Yes.
and Ohio now.
There you
So those are the
And
ones we
Tennessee.
worry about. And Tennessee.
Excuse
that's
me,
right.
I live in Oberlin, Ohio, which is like the least
Oberlin.
militia-y city in like the country.
Well, Dion, as we wrap up the pit, I want to say I'm really proud of you for 2 reasons. 1, you're right. And 2, you had a definitive opinion.
I
So
do.
congratulations
Yeah,
this week.
yeah,
I'm proud of you.
I mean,
you're welcome.
He's always the fence setter. So with that, we'll wrap up the pit. Obviously, we have a winner. That's Dion and I. Sorry, guys. That's just how it goes when you come into the pit. Only
he's like, I don't think so.
only one side can win. So you guys lost.
Get in the comments. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Get in the comments.
Leave a comment.
Yeah.
Leave a comment.
Tell
So-
him I'm right. I'll tell you what to buy in 2025.
All right. So next part we're gonna go to is game of the week. This is our chance to, of course, share what game we're really excited about this week. So Donald, we'll give you time to think. And Shay, why don't you go first?
I got you. So my game of the week is Monster Hearts 2.
Oh wow, yeah.
I cannot wait to run this. It's going to happen next week. I don't know where in the time zone where we at, but I'm going to run this. And if you don't know what Monster Hearts 2 is, basically, have you watched the CW?
That's a good explanation of it. Really, that is right. That's right.
There. It's even in the book when they have media homework. One of the things they're saying, like, watch the season of Vampire Diaries? Yeah, Vampire Diaries.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So because that it is you are a monster in high school and all the high school shenanigans of high school and like Riverdale.
On the
monsters.
second, you're running
Except-
that, aren't you?
it-
here?
except-
You're running that.
Except it might be a little hornier than those shows.
Right, a little
a little
bit
horny.
more.
It's like the CW sign an agreement with Cinemax.
Not Cinemax, maybe
Cinemax.
HBO. No,
Yeah.
it's
Maybe like FX.
yeah, FX, yes,
You know.
FX, yeah. But
Yes,
yeah, no.
it's that kind of horny. It's FX.
It literally says like one of the moves is turning somebody on. Like I gotta make sure I tell people what kind of game this is.
I've had a lot of questions about
Yeah,
Monster
you-
Hearts, and I've asked them to go to the Discord and
this
ask
is
you.
an 18+ room.
Yeah,
Tonight.
this is not. This is
Whoa.
we are not having kids are not allowed to play.
Shay,
this
you got
game.
some teenage angst over there, don't you, bud?
Oh, I really do. I've
Wow.
been listening to some. They even have a playlist that you can listen to, so I've been listening to that too. Just get
Wow.
in the mood. I'm gonna like binge watch a season of all the CW shows. I'm thinking Vampire Diaries. I'm thinking also I need to watch One Tree Hill just to get that one like that feeling.
So-
that feeling, the OC. Like I need and then just watch it like watch I don't know, Supernatural to kind of balance it out. Anyway, that's my game of the week. Monster Hearts 2.
Dion,
My game of the week is we actually opened it finally.
you gifted this to me.
I did Kunahora, which I think I just messed up the box. However, I really, really, really like this game. I like the pieces. I like the fact that you have it's simple where you have like 6, 7 cards. You pick one of the top of the bottom as your actions. As you do the actions, how things change so quickly. So you're thinking, okay, I'm going to collect income next round, and then all of a sudden the guy goes, "Oh, guess what? The meat that you were going to sell is now $2," and you're like, "It was just at 6. Where did you put?" And so it kind of changes in the market. It's got this really cool card thing where you take it from the top and put it on the bottom, and take it from the top and put it back on the bottom. It goes through the market.
Mm-hmm.
And like as you get more people, the needs go up or the needs go down based on what you're building in this town together. The in-game scoring, I was kind of it's probably my downfall of it. It was a lot of crisscrossing of that you're thinking about that it was okay. I didn't really care for the rivers. I'm not a big river fan in the game with what you're picking, but I do like how they keep sliding and more come out and slide back down.
The evolving economy is something that really appealed to
The
me. with that.
evolving economy and how everything just goes back to cash. Everything just goes back to money that you're able to spend and reinvest, and then get more, and then spend and reinvest. The 3 factions I thought was pretty unique. I liked the way that how you can manipulate them and how you could play them together. And your like the track at the bottom, the reputation track at the bottom. You could sacrifice reputation by doing certain things, which I thought it was a really good game. I thought it's well designed, well developed by CGE. It is in my alley of things that I'm like, oh, and so far it has been my favorite one of 2024 so far this year. So
Yeah.
Fair.
It
was a
came
good
out
game.
last year, so it won't be allowed for the
Exactly.
Bully
no,
Meeples.
for me, like
Yeah.
what I've played. So at the end of the year, we pick the top 4 games that we're introduced or played that year.
Right.
And so for me in our store, this right now, this is my favorite game that's came out so far this year, or that I've played
That you
so
played
far
this year.
or
Yeah,
been introduced to this year.
Yeah.
Because games here, because they're released at different times and you don't really get them to the table in time, So for what we do here is games that, and my buddy Ryan, who ran a table last year, he picked games that I don't think released this century. I mean, it was bad on the century. At least,
yeah.
I mean, he picked games that have been out for a long time, but he just got introduced to them. Yeah, he was just introduced.
I just found out about Parcheesi. Have you guys seen this thing?
Have you guys seen this game?
It's a new game called Heroes Quest.
I don't know if you guys have ever played Monopoly, but my gosh, it's a great game. So I mean, it's games that you were introduced to that year.
Yeah.
So you won't pick the same ones next year. But I'm really excited about that one.
I'll tell you what old game that can always be introduced.
Have you played
as a
your
new
copy?
game. No, not yet.
Well, then you're missing out. It's a great game
to play with.
Well,
I did buy the deluxeification.
Of course you did, and
metal
you have not
coins.
yet played it, but you've got the metal
They're
coins
in
for
the
it.
box.
I use
Waiting to
those
be played.
Roxy's chips there. That's what I like playing with that game. That fits best with that.
Yeah, it was fun.
So my game of the week is going to be one I haven't even played yet. Actually, I played it once. I just got it in the mail, literally hours before I came here tonight to film this, and that is Fractured Skies by Ivy Studios. I am a big fan of what the Austin and those guys are doing at Ivy. It's a newer company, 2020s when they came around, and they, Moonrakers, Mystic, Mischief, Veiled Fates, just some fantastic games. I had a chance to play this at Gen Con with Austin and one of the other guys that works there, and I personally love the mechanic of this. Basically, it's a little bit of a poker type of game where you're trying to control the board to collect these shards. The shards are how you're going to win. They're part of the Fractured Sky. And with that, you have basically 2 zeros and then a 1 through 10 on these chips that are magnetic. And then you have these different types of structures from towers and ships. And basically, you will put a magnetic token underneath the piece that you're putting on the board. It's going to have a number. And you basically are trying to control the board. And at the end of the round, all of you take the tokens off of the bottom of your pieces, and it'll expose the numbers of what basically you bid to control that spot. And those spots will have the pieces, the Fractured Skies. There's also a card mechanic where you're trying to find where the kind of end game is at, and it's all hidden. And each round you can spend tokens to kind of look at cards to see maybe if you can isolate down where the main prize point is at on the board. So that's a very long way to explain the game. Again, I played it back in June, but like I said, the pieces are fantastic. I got the super deluxe version with the painted minis. And like I said, the fact that everything is magnetic, it's just that click just feels so good on your board.
It's so shiny.
That's how you know I paid too much. That's my platinum sticker that Donald was talking about.
This platinum sticker.
Okay, sorry, I had a moment.
See, somebody actually listened to you guys. Like, ooh, we got the holographic box.
Look, holographic.
So it can sit in my Calyx and nobody will ever look at it.
I mean, we'll only look at it because I've been fascinated by it.
Not pick it out and play it because it's
Well, how would you play a game? That's silly. You just collect them. All right, Donald, what you got?
So I, for my birthday, which is right after Christmas, received apiary. I am a beekeeper. I love bees.
Really?
And so is the designer, Connie Vogelman.
Yep.
And so I messaged her on BGG, and she's going to come on the Plaid Hat podcast, and we're going to have a little chit chat just about beekeeping. My wife, Nikki, who's also a beekeeper, along with me. And we're just going to talk about bees and board games.
And Wormspan, right? She did that one too?
We've only gotten the chance to play the 2-player version, which it was one of those things where I thought the game was full of unique, cool ideas. And it made me very eager to play it with more players because it just felt like the mechanics and the bumping and stuff would really sort of come alive with like a 4-player game. So I'm hoping to get that to the table soon with more players. But I really enjoyed what I played of it. I thought the idea of a worker placement game where the sort of indirect conflict is sort of you're evolving the spaces in sort of a positive way rather than degrading them negatively was really clever. The inventing you in the game, you can send your bees to invent dances where you can convert resources by your own methods that you devise, and then other players who take that space are giving you sort of a resource that sort of points at the end. It's kind of a point salad-y thing. A lot of clever ideas, and I really think it's going to do really well with my group of newer players who, they haven't really played a ton of Euros or anything, and I feel like all these unique ideas are going to be one of those moments of like, whoa, this can do these other things, you know.
I think the pitch on
which-
that game is like, hey, do you like Euro games? Yeah. Do you like a lot of randomization in your Euro games? And then they're like, yeah, well, here's a bunch of randomization with a worker placement game. So that was my only complaint with it. There's just a lot of randomization in my Euro, but I do like the game itself. I think they did a very good job. I liked it. It's very easy to explain, very easy to teach, very easy to pop out and play. So I agree. That's a good selection. And I think she just worked on Wormspan that's coming out March, right?
Yeah.
So Connie, that's awesome. We're going to actually
2 in a
get
row.
that
I'm
from
very
Gabe
curious to talk to her about how that happened.
Yeah.
You know, that's 2 big games, you know, relatively close together. So she must have came in with some good pitches.
Yeah, well, she,
because
and
obviously
Jamie,
Elizabeth Hargrove, obviously the developer of Wingspan, I know Jamie was saying that she was very heavily engaged with Jamie and Connie on Wormspan, because there's a lot of overlap there, but I think there's 15 new mechanics that are coming out with Wormspan, and so it's going to definitely be its own game. But
Is that really a thing they said? 15 new?
yeah,
15 new
15 new
mechanics,
mechanics.
Because they knew.
That's funny. That's such a funny, weird log line for
Yeah,
board
right.
game.
I sent him a message.
15 new mechanisms. No more, no less.
No
We
more,
got
no
15
less.
here. You know,
Well,
what's
I
funny
mean,
is
really, the pitch was like, you know, Wingspan? Yeah, let's put dragons on. And they were like,
Right.
yeah! Like that would be like, sold, do that.
I sent Jamie.
I can't say anything too rude because I
you'd be
literally
with it,
did.
yeah.
I literally just did that. I literally like, yeah, remember Forgotten Waters? What about with 1 dragon in it?
What about with a dragon in it? What about we did that, but D&D theme? And they were like, yeah! You were like, done.
Don't
Freelancers
don't break what's
too.
not broken.
Yeah,
Now
right?
with
It's
2
great.
dragons and 15 new mechanics.
Yes. Well, all I got to do is make a game with 16 new mechanics and I'll
Yeah.
blow them out of the water.
More.
Did you like
Idiots!
Wormspan?
You're not supposed to tell me how many new mechanics you have. Now I can.
Well, after that was released, I sent Jamie a message and I was like, "Hey, congratulations on becoming the new St. Louis Federal Reserve because you're just gonna be printing money at this point."
I know, right?
So, well,
Yeah,
Brandon's
pretty easy to not use Kickstarter, Jamie, when you got Wingspan in your.
You can tell Connie that on your podcast.
Yeah.
I will.
So, Brandon's kind of been put in a corner here. Donald, without you knowing, you actually bogarted his game of the week. So
yeah.
Brandon,
Hell yeah. He says hell yeah. I like him. I like him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I'm not going to say Forgotten Waters with my wife. We had a very unique experience in that game. But yeah, last week, my wife and I came here and we played Apiary. And I
We taught
lost
it
by a
last week.
singular point. And we had a
Did you
4-person
play-
game,
did-
though.
Did you play 2 players? Oh, you had 4 players.
Yeah, we had 4 players.
Ah.
It was okay. I think it was good for like an early Euro, even though I'm like a heavy Euro kind of guy. What I did notice about it, though, at 4 players, is that the person who's like speeding the game along, the one really getting their guys to level up to 4 and then hustling over to the end, kind of paces the game to where if you want to compete, you also have to pace the game. And we're at 2 players. It seems like it might be more of like a fun build your city up. It really became like,
No.
how fast could I get all these bees to 4 and shove them into the hatchery as quickly as possible to hibernate to get the game done so I could win.
In our 2-player game, I never win board games, especially Euros, because I'm not smart. And I like quadrupled Nikki's score. Just grounded and just. There was nothing light or fun or airy or casual about that 2-player game. It was just.
the fact
it
you
was
didn't take it
pure
easy on her
brutality.
is real love.
Yeah, that's love.
You know,
She's better at games than me. I ain't taking easy on anybody.
So before we wrap this up, I need to tell you this story just because you're the guy to tell this to and you'll get it. Brandon comes a lot with his wife to the board game cafe, and they come in and they have date night here where they're playing games. One of the nights, Brandon played Forgotten Waters and really liked it, so he wanted to show his wife, like, oh, she's gonna love this, right? We'll get her into this.
I'm also a man who's very wrong.
Yes, he is very wrong. we're like, here, you got to read out loud your character. You know, after you do the Mad Libs thing in Forgotten Waters, we're like, read out loud your character. She's like, I don't give a damn about a story. Let's just play the game. And it was an amazing experience from there on out of us be like trying to hurry the game along and not make it too like
The game.
And so now that's been the go-to inside joke amongst Brandon as well. It wasn't Forgotten Waters, I'll tell you that, because she was one that absolutely. I mean, there's people that love your titles and hated them. She was one that absolutely. And I tried to get. I was like, "You think she'd play freelancers?" He's like, "I'm not even trying that. I'm not going down that aisle." I was like, "All right." So
That's
I just thought I'd
great. I
share that
really
with you.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Now that we put,
I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go for it.
No, go for it.
Go for it.
You go, sir.
No, you go.
I was gonna say that was my initial reaction to Forgotten Waters as well. But
I'm glad I made you say that.
But I do love that game very deeply.
I do
But
too, yeah.
originally, the first time I played it, I was like, man, I want to listen to some nerds read. What are we doing?
Oh,
That's
brilliant.
epic.
All right, so that was our game of the week. So if you have a game of the week, please feel free to in the comments below, or I should say, please just like and comment
Like and subscribe.
subscribe.
Yeah, all
Hit
those
that
wonderful things.
bell.
Yeah, smash it.
Donald.
Smash it. Elbow
Use
it from the top row.
Win,
Lose or draw. Has
With
something.
that,
Okay, I'll put it
the
away.
great thing is Shay now has his fall on the sword moment for next week.
Yes,
So we're great
horrible
there.
feet to the fire.
So with that,
Content.
we're going to go ahead and mercifully wrap this one up for Donald because he has been such a trooper today, giving us
Amazing.
so much time. Everybody, give it
Happy
up
to.
for Donald.
I like
Donald, you're amazing, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Developer, creator.
That's true. I am.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
are a pretty awesome dude.
Now you are
I
one
Life
of
am.
is
those
blessed.
entertaining, fun people I think we've talked to easily because we've only talked to a couple. So, but right now, depending on who asks, you're number one unless they ask.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
but with that, thank you so much for your time. We can't thank you enough. And please make sure you go check out the 2023 Golden Meeple Award winner, Freelancers. Absolutely fantastic game.
Yes, and whatever comes from the shelf of Plaid Hat Games. I mean, whatever comes out next, jump on it. Is going to be
Or
fire.
more importantly, the overhyped game
Fire.
of 2025.
Most importantly,
yeah.
though, is hype. We're hyping it now. We're not even announced. We're hyping it
just
right
gonna
now.
hype
Exactly.
Go
Hey,
get
you
it
got
now.
That's how overhyped it is.
That is how
Yeah, we
overhyped.
got 3 hype men right here. So with
That's
that
right.
said, everybody, don't forget as we wrap up this podcast, champions
Never stop playing.
That's true.
Hey,
Donald.
Donald, you're amazing.
Honestly, you're one of my favorite people now.
Hey, thanks.
I actually
That was
genuinely
fun.
mean that. So.
That was